of Let's Talk Marriage. You know how we do it every Sunday at 5 minutes past 1. And today, we actually have a couple here. But you know that this program is meant to showcase different couples who have been long in marriage, who have acquired experience over the years, made their mistakes and learned. It's actually intended for the younger ones to learn, and even those in marriage. In case you're making mistakes in your marriage, you can learn from other people's experiences. If others can succeed, why not you? So that's the essence of this program, actually. So today we have a couple who have stood the test, whose marriage has stood the test of time. I'm talking about the very Reverend and Mrs. Obioma Iroha Boeke. They're right here in the studio. They are of Singles and Couples Whispers International. They're actually marriage counselors. So, very Reverend Irabueke, you're welcome.
Thank you.
Okay, I asked him while we were talking, I said, why do they call you very Reverend? He said it's of the Methodist faith, that's why. Okay, and Mrs. Obioma Irabueke is here too.
Thank you so much and welcome everyone.
Yeah, my name is Rachel ONAH. From now till a quarter to one, quarter to two rather, we'll be talking marriage. So, for very Reverend Irabueke, how did the journey begin? How did you meet her and how did you propose to her in summary?
Okay. Thank you. At about 1989, I was in IMT. I belonged to a fellowship called Nigerian Fellowship of Evangelical Students. I was in HMD then, and she too was in ND, but she was not a quiet fellow. I actually was in the executive, and I noticed that we have one sister who is peculiar for being very quiet and not making any comments or no moves. And that was just the only distinctive factor about her. And that was how I could say I saw her, but there was nothing there. I went for youth service, and then after I had a revelation about a building and somebody resting on that building, which the Lord spoke to me was going to be my wife. So after youth service, I went to Lagos to do my CV, to look for a job. I had my bag of applications in my bag, and I got to Yaba. I haven't been to Lagos before then I hadn't been to Lagos. So on getting to place, I felt that I knew this place. And I knew the place. And while I was still wondering, the bus that I was in, somebody needed to go down. As I stepped down for the person to come out, the bus left me. Because I was still new in Lagos, I didn't know they have to be too fast in Lagos. And I since I had a lot of time in my hands, I decided to walk into that place. It was so familiar, but then I hadn't been to Lagos. That was the point. When I said, let me just find out, just like Moses would say, this is a strange sight, let me look at it. So I went to look at it, and finally, as I walked up that stairs, I saw somebody resting hand on the rail, just like I saw in that revelation. And I came close to that person. It turned out to be Sister Bridget.
Who is now your wife?
Yes.
All right, for Mrs. Bridget Iloa Boeke, how did you react? How did you know about him, and did you know he was going to be your husband?
Yes, at some point. Like he said, we met in IMT, or we saw in IMT, first fellowship, but there was nothing. But as he left for youth service and I remained in Enugu for my IT, after some months he came to Enugu, walked into the place I was doing IT in Reference Point Systems Limited to do his CV. And it was when the manuscript of his CV was handed over to me to do the job, I saw Irabueke Obioma, the only name. And I was like, this is like, it may be the person I knew. So I got off from my seat and I saw it was him. We greeted. It was that day after I finished and he left that I got a ministration in my spirit. This man has something to do with me, obviously, and he may end up being my husband. So I left that ministration to myself. But after, as I was growing, I was having suitors from then, quite some of them. But the more people were coming to ask for my hand in marriage, the more my heart was going for him. That look, that brother Obi, and all that. So that was how it actually started until when finally he came to Yabatek.
Okay, Reverend, very Reverend Obi, how did you pop the question? And when did you gather the courage to propose to her? How did it happen?
Oh yeah, that's wonderful. I was actually in Port Harcourt and I was just getting ready to, get married, and I went to Lagos.
Yeah.
I went to Lagos and
On a night bus.
on a night bus exactly. I went on the night bus and wore my the only suit I had then for my I used my convocation, so I wore my only suit, and then I went to Lagos by night bus. And I got to the place and I went to, because she told me before I left Lagos previously on a previous visit that that was her hostel. So I went to the place. I told the porter I want to see Bridget, and then the porter said okay. Went to call her, and then porter came back and said, "Are you brother Obioma?" I said yes. So how did you know? She said that she knows that brother Obioma will be coming. So so when she came out, I said, "How did you know I was going to come?" She said, that I should not bother, that God is in control. So I became more confident that this journey is going to work. It's going to really work. I was just wondering who told her. How did you know? There were no phones then. There were no emails and all that. So somehow we stepped out. As I did step out, she agreed and got ready. And then there, it wasn't easy. I was expecting that at this point that she would have proposed to me.
How can?
How
can an African? You know, we're still Africans.
But she was unmoved
Where?
until we went somewhere, ate, visited a friend. We were coming back to that same, seeing her off to that hostel. She said nothing.
How do you expect a woman to propose to you in Africa? In Nigeria, a Nigerian woman
It was that,
making the first
at
move.
that point, and I said, how do I go home without accomplishing anything? And I got her, said, Sister Bridget, you know all this while I have been listening to God and I'm ready to get married. She said, oh, who are you going to get married to? I said, it is you.
All right. Okay, so Sister Bridget, permit me to call you that. I'm sure you gave him the answer was positive because you've already known, right?
Not at all. Unfortunately, I used to see myself a very reserved person, and I wasn't in a haste at all to give him the answer. Actually, I knew he was coming to propose marriage to me, as at that day. No man had ever had to look for me in the campus. At that day, I had that conviction that Bro Bioma was coming, and he was coming to say, I will marry you. So when he came, for the first time, I followed a guy outside the campus. And we went to visit a brother who was also with us in IMT, who was his very good friend. And from there, we entered an eatery and ate. Came back that evening. I was expecting him to say what he came from.
Well, he was expecting you to.
And I didn't know he was expecting me, but he was actually at the bus stop.
Yeah.
He wanted to enter bus. The bus had stopped when he was saying, Sister Bridget, all this while. In fact, I'm ready to get married. And I said, who do you want to marry? I was even making a joke with him and about a sister that had broken somebody's heart, is it that sister and all that. He said, no, it's you, and he jumped inside the bus. So I didn't say anything. I only went to my room, knelt down and thanked my God that, Lord, at least what you told me has happened. It took me from that another 1 year to say yes.
Wow.
Yes, it took a long time again because we didn't see there was no need. He wrote me some letters I wrote, but I couldn't communicate my acceptance until I went for youth service. Got to the youth service from the camp. I made up my mind to visit him in Port Harcourt to be able to sit with him to say yes, that what you said, I'm ready, and that was exactly what happened.
Wow. So, very Reverend Obioma, for how many years now have you been married?
This is
23 years.
This is 23 years of our marriage.
Okay.
3rd May, 1997.
So how has the journey been? What are some of the challenges you've faced so far?
It's been wonderful, quite wonderful.
Wonderful. All the way, 23 years.
23 years has been wonderful.
No bad side of it.
Oh, no. The wonderful here includes the bad side of it.
Okay.
A lot of experience, like when you play football, the eye of the practice is not the same eye you use in playing the match. So that the match is faster and more aggressive. I know we're doing Sister God bless you, Sister God bless you. It is when you get into the marriage, you will discover that human differences play a lot of roles. We've had a wonderful time, including the bad times, especially when it had to do primarily with our finances. All right. Now, in fact, the first initial point was my in-laws refused. They refused. You know, we were ready to get married in 1995. We waited for 2 years of begging.
That is her parents.
Her parents, yes.
Refused her getting married to you.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. On grounds that she had richer suitors, and they were wondering why she would go for a young man who's just doing who's doing a civil service work. She comes from Anambra State, where they have importers and all that.
Importers and exporters.
Yeah. So it was the parents, the family were not willing to let her go into the hand of one young man who is a civil servant, and they didn't want her to suffer. They love her so much. They didn't want her. They thought she was going to suffer if she goes, if she marries me. So it took 2 years of crying, of praying, of insistence, before they gave us the consent for us to get married. What happened? It helped us to bind us together, to strengthen our heart. That this journey that has taken us so much to prepare to move on, that we're going to get to the end of it by the grace of God, and it's been so wonderful. Also had some challenges of finance, like I was a young man working in Port Harcourt in the paint industry. The salaries were not that fantastic, but God was helping us, and we're putting things together, both for our traditional marriage and for the wedding itself, and after the wedding. And of course, expectations are here and there, and we're just managing. She just finished the service and came on, just started some little work in I think a business center or so, trying to put body and soul together. So if they ask what are you doing in Port Harcourt, she will say, oh, I have a work I'm doing there. So it's been quite that challenging. And then in marriage proper, you discover that she's a strong person, but it's good that when we got married, I keep moving. I could have reached the gate, and she saw, I said, at the point she will not stop and say, I'm not going again. So I have to come back.
Because, okay, let me get it right. You had disagreements on your pace of walking.
No, my pace of walking. I am faster.
You are faster.
Yes.
Oh, you were faster because now I can.
Yes, I was faster, but now we have a lot of blending.
Okay.
I now know how to look back, but now have to be sure that she is by my side.
So things as little as that can cause misunderstanding.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Sometimes you would say, just go from there. Go from there. I said, come now, come fast now. What's happening? Said, just go your own,
Okay.
All right.
And today, thank God you've overcome that. At least you came with a car, which I saw.
Yeah.
All right, Madam Bridget. How were you able to manage the finances, seeing that comparing the family you were coming from and your husband's status as at the time you got married? How were you able to cope with the finances?
Yeah, of course. It wasn't easy, but I had a foundation from my father's house. The issue of contentment was like inculcated into my life, and so there was nothing like I needed more of what I have. You just have to make do with what is available, and so that became like a pattern of life, an attitude in me. So it helped me a lot. While we were preparing for the marriage, as my parents, even when they gave their consent, my brothers were still, and my sisters were still not comfortable, but we had to patiently wait for all of them. Like he said, he strengthened us. He gave us a time. In fact, from that moment, we picked every Wednesday of every week to fast and to pray. And so we were able to conquer those times, and then we moved on. But then, in the issue of finances, since he didn't have so much money, and I didn't have any to contribute as such, and there was nobody we were looking forward to helping us, we decided to cut our coat according to our clothes then, not even according to our sizes. Make do with whatever. We just got the basic needs. I wasn't stretching my hands or my ears or my throat towards what anybody had. Nobody was our standard. We decided to, especially on my own side, I told him, don't worry, whatever you can afford to get, we use it. So it can surprise you that the same shoe, Abba-made shoe I used for my traditional marriage, gold color Abba-made shoe, was the same one I wore on my wedding day. And I was happy, fine. I had to borrow wedding gown my sister-in-law used in 1987 to wed in 1997, 10 years after, and I was fine. And so we didn't bother ourselves with bridal train or call them little bride and all that. No,
Page
page boy, no. We made do with just what we didn't share any souvenir. We just made a simple wedding, but then it was great indeed because people loved us and they really turned out to help us. So cutting our throats away from fantasies was one of the things God used to help us.
Okay. Very Reverend Obiom, I wanted to advise young people in this aspect now about wedding, preparation for weddings and all that.
Yeah, preparation for wedding is good, but it's not the wedding, it's not the marriage itself. Many people go to borrow, put themselves under pressure to do a society wedding, and at the end of the day, it ruins the marriage itself. I know of people who have borrowed, have taken loans to do all this, and at the end of the day, after the wedding, people will eat and go, and you'll be left with the burden of debt, and you can no longer sleep well or laugh, or rejoice in your home. So, young people, I advise you to, like she has said, cut your coat according to your cloth. Nobody is going to give you a award for spending millions in one wedding.
So now I'm encouraged because I saw the car you came with. I know it's not a cheap car. How were you able to transit from that level of not having anything to your present status right now? How were you able to achieve that?
All right, as we kept working and the call of God upon my life was so strong, my wife was actually working in the marine industry. My wife was actually working in the marine industry, and she knows that the pressure. Also, part of the challenge we had also that we didn't get a good house help. In fact, we were so unlucky we were getting the wrong ones all the time. We were just going for as if the wrong ones were set aside for us.
House helps to take care of
So
your kids?
Yeah, kids. We have 3 sons.
Okay.
So
I'm very careful about asking people of their kids because you can ask somebody and the person doesn't have, and you would have ended up reminding the person.
So we had 3 sons, and she was working, I was working. It was difficult getting a good house help, so pressure was on. So she now said, I said, why don't you, since her own job was more stable than mine, why don't I just resign, enter into a business, okay, that I could do and combine with the ministry while she works, and that will also help the children. And that's exactly what we did. And we started, and then she taught me. She taught me about marrying. This is vessel, this is this, this is this, this is that. Okay? And then I started it each time I will be, making reference to her. She'll be teaching me what to do, and all that. That's how it began. And then gradually, that small business God has blessed it, and is yielding a lot of fruits.
Okay, now, Madam Bridget, having kids and raising kids, what are some of the challenges, like your husband has mentioned about having to cope with bad house helps? How were you able to cope with raising your kids and your career?
Yeah, well, like he has said, it was not easy, but one of the things that God did for us is the fact that himself happened to be a very humble person who is able to do what very many men would not want to do. And many times he had to, even when he was in a paid employment as a sales manager, his job was much more of almost like working at his pace. He could move around. And he was handling our children, especially the first son. He was more with him. He could carry him alone in the car, change his napkins, not even pampers, napkins.
In those days?
Yes, in those days. Wash them, do everything, feed the child, do everything, and we were just like complimenting one another in that form while the job was ongoing. And so it became like pattern of our life. There was not so much like, okay, what a man could do in the house, because he could wash. He's only cooking that, God was helping him. But then he could wash and help me in certain ways. Okay. And so every other thing around us became like doing what needs to be done. Whoever that is available was able to do what was, available to be done, and we moved on in that way.
All right. That's nice to hear. While that was going on, my colleague Chama Aguirre came in. Chama, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, listener out there, and good afternoon, madam, and good afternoon, sir.
Okay.
Good afternoon, Chama. You're welcome.
Okay, Chama has been married for 20 years and counting. Well, she doesn't look it anyway. She has a question or two for you.
Okay, let me take this to Sarah. I appreciate your your being here, okay? But I want to ask, because most times it is usually the men that I feel that this issue of anger in the house, in the home, should be addressed, or should handle, or we should answer this ask this question. Okay, the area of anger, please tell us, how do you manage anger issues in the house?
That's wonderful, especially for some of us who are stammerers. I used to be, but life and ministry and herself has taught me to take a breath down. And each time, I won't say I'm not offended. I won't say, oh, nothing has been done, or, wrong. I've not seen anything wrong at home that could annoy somebody. But she says, each time you are angry, breathe up, breathe down, and it goes down on you. So, for us, by the grace of God, we've been able to, when there are things that could annoy, or even when anger that are carried over from other places, when we come to the home, we drop it down at the gate and know that you're walking into your own home where you have your friends, because after that, she is my best friend and we are friends. And so there's a limit to how you can get angry against your friend. Otherwise, you were never friends at all. So we, by the grace of God, God has taught us to calm down even when we have reason to get offended. God has taught us to calm down, take it easy, and know that this lady is not your enemy, and these children are not your enemies. Nobody in this family is an enemy, but that we are all just friends. So that is just it, knowing who you are and what those who are around you are to you, the value you place upon them.
Okay, let me ask my Mrs. Bridget, when you are angry, how do you behave? Because I heard that you're on the quiet side, and so how do you behave so that I can communicate to him to show that you're really pissed?
Well, I wasn't brought up in a rowdy environment or harsh environment. In my father's house, there was this kind of so much love, so much gist around, and a lot of fun. So it became pattern of me. So when I got to discover he had just like many men, like he says, stammering, when things go wrong now, so I don't even know how I react when I'm angry, other than the fact that I'm the one that I like to speak with him to say, look, we have to talk. There is something we need to talk about. It could be at night, it could be early in the morning, but when children would have slept, if we are like, now that we have children, okay, they are men now. They are not even children again, everybody. So the important thing is that I'm able to call his attention. I'm able to air my opinion to say, look, this is what you did, I don't like it, or this is how you reacted to this and I don't like it.
And he respects that too.
Of course, he will always look forward to it. And I can tell you, every marriage anniversary to us becomes a day to take stock of our previous, the year we just spent. So we sit down to ask ourselves, what were the things you saw in me this past year? What is it that you didn't like? What were the things I did better? And are there areas I need to, brush up to improve? Are there things I could drop? And it became part of us. So we do that like every other time there is issue or there is anything. But at the anniversary of our marriage, we still settle down to go over and over, and it brushes off better. But let me come in that there is something practical I began to do consciously. And I got that inspiration that since it was a little bit temperamental when we got married, I decided consciously to turn the house into like a playhouse. We crack a lot of jokes, we take a lot of fun, we put things I know that interest him become like the only thing I would want to go for. So it makes the atmosphere very calm, naturally. You come into it, so even if you are angry, when he's angry and he sees me, sorry, that anger has to just go because I have something I can communicate. My way of looking at him communicates a lot that he can't even, keep the anger anymore. So it's practically one of the things that has helped us.
All right, wonderful story there is Harper's one. I think at this point we'll start taking calls. If you want to call us, our number is 0809 757 2450. 0809 757 2450. I take it again, 0809 757 2450. Or you can call us another line we have here, 0908 220 3447. 0908 220 3447. These are the lines to call if you want to be part of this program. Hello, good afternoon.
Hello, good afternoon.
What's your name and where are you calling from?
My name is Florence. I am calling from Ramadan.
All right, Florence, go ahead.